guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be talking you through fitting my MaXpeedingRods coilovers to my S14. I didn't bother talking whilst I was doing it outside because the weather was a bit iffy, and with a bit of wind noise and stuff it wasn't great on the GoPro, so I've decided to do it on my streaming setup. Now this is one side. I've already fitted the passenger side at this point already because I took photos for a write-up on Silvia and S14, but I just thought I'd quickly show you. Right now, anyone who's been following along my sort of vlogs of the car this past year will see I've just painted the two uprights that go to the slam panel. I've painted that all white now, and I've also fitted the driver's side headlight blank. You can see there, that's just a steel headlight blank I painted myself. Nothing too fancy, but headlights for 14s now are getting very, very expensive, so I will not be replacing that anytime soon. So yeah, whip the bumper off. We've got an easy release bumper. You can see the other part of the bumper bar is still a bit rusty there because I haven't had a chance to spray that one yet. But yeah, jack it up, whip the wheel off. You'll notice, yeah, put an active stand underneath. Obviously, same as anything you work on. I like to wire brush anything that's a bit rusty down. Spray a bit of WD on there. First, you want to take off the brake pipe clip. This is what holds the hose or the clip in place. As you can see, it's like hose or the brake pipe in place. And then I'm undoing the caliper to hub bolts now. Now if you've got ABS you'd also have to undo, I'll point it out later, but there's another bolt at the top of the hub there. Oh, that's my arm. Yep, so there you go. Look. Undo both of those like so. Also advise wearing gloves. You do get dirty in this sort of job, especially with brakes. So yeah, whipped off the calipers. They're S14 calipers, if you're wondering. They're not the standard cast ones. They do save you about a kilo on each side actually. It's surprising how much difference between S32s and the normal ones. Right, so yeah, cracking off both the upright bolts. That's my BC style coilovers at the moment. You can probably recognise them. They are all, it's all very dirty, and I have to apologise. I do wash some of the underside off as I go along, but the last drift I did was a very wet day and mud and crap got everywhere. But yeah, whip both those bolts off. I've just dropped down the axe stand now to take the weight and pull both of them out, and then pried it out of the shock absorber. So this applies to anyone who's replacing the normal shocks and springs. Obviously I'm swapping a coilover for another coilover, and there's the bolt I was talking about. So if you have an ABS sensor, that will go across the front of there. Yeah, 14mm socket now for the top mounts. That's the stock size of what was on mine. An impact gun does speed up any of these sorts of jobs really, rather than having to just crack them off with a ratchet every time. So yeah, he's on the floor. I'm going to do a little comparison. I'm going to pause as we go along. So first of all, the top mount thickness. You can see there, the thickness of the BC coilover is probably only a mil or two thick on the very top. The threads are about the same thread on the actual where the nuts go on. But otherwise, other than having a different adjustment knob, so I put the red cap is still on from when it came through on the MaXpeedingRods ones, but they're just like a smaller nailed knob, whereas on the BCs it's a bigger nailed knob, but it's the same thing. Now, as we go further down, I also shown there, you can see they've both got the Allen key camber adjustment on there. So now the spring length, if you look here, the actual, let me just pause it a bit, if I pause it there. So the spring length there, the springs and the actual thickness of the springs and the thickness of the actual shock absorbers inside the dampers are very similar between these two. You can see, you know, I roughly put them to size, but both of them haven't. The fronts might have 10mm of preload on the old BC ones, but nothing major. So you can see they're pretty similar. The only thing you'll notice, which as I go down to the bottom in a second, is that the actual thread into the body on the MaXpeedingRods coilovers isn't as much as in the BCs. Now, obviously, because mine's a drift car and I run extended arms, it's more noticeable because I run the coilover at a higher height than what most people would run, because I've got extended arms. That is the equivalent of dropping it anyway straight away, because obviously the wheel is being moved out, so the height of the car is going to drop. So I have it sat high. Like if you look at that BC coilover there, most people that are buying coilovers probably aren't going to have them set as high as that. You might do if you're using it on the road all the time, which is fine, but you probably will find that most people will drop them a bit lower than that. So I don't think the fact that the body, if I just skip forward, oh, here we go, so you can see, oh, there you go, so there's a bit of a gap. That one's a lot longer than that body, and there's a gap in the threads, but like I say, it's no biggie. The main thing is, you know, the adjustment is there. Oh yeah, I dropped that nut. I remember doing that. Not ideal. So yeah, put the other ones on. Now these, the standard, the nuts that come with these MaXpeedingRods coilovers were 15s, I'm pretty sure, rather than the 14s that I took off. There's the other nutlet. It definitely took longer than what I just showed you to find it. It took me about 5 minutes to pick that up. Yeah, it's a 15mm socket. So, gun them up. As I say, impact gun is a winner for this sort of thing. Right, back underneath. Just basically the reverse of what we just done. So, I like to lube up all my bolts, a bit of copper slip on them. So I didn't realise how much my arm is in front of the camera when I was doing this. But yeah, you can see it rained in between there. Look, I also, as it was raining, I washed a bit of the inside to get some of the dirt off as well. But most of it, now the sun's come back out again, it dried most of it off, but it left a bit of a patch. This is what I'm showing you here is the camber adjustment on the top of the mounts. So let me just go back a smidge there. Right, if I go back, see how you can move it in and out. So you can adjust. That's the most amount of camber, that's the less camber. Now that's all done just on the elongated hole at the top of the camber bolts. Now I've set it to the least amount of camber because I'm adjusting all of my camber out on the top mount, and even then, because I've got the extended arms, which you can see there, they've been cut and extended, it still has like 3.5–4 degrees camber even on the minimum amount of camber on the top and the elongated bolts. So yeah, everyone's different. Obviously if you had a standard car with standard arms, you might want to use a bit of that adjustment on the camber on the shock, or the camber on the shock body. But yeah, obviously whack them back in, put those bolts back in, like I said, with a bit of lube, gun them up. You can see the sun's trying to come back out again here, but we've had some terrible weather the last week's been good since I've videoed, but before that was absolutely rubbish. So this is why it did take me a little while to get this video made. Just nipping up the bolts there. Actually, I normally do go around and check all the bolts, everything after I've gunned them up or whatever, tightened them. I normally do go around and check them all again. Now you can see here I've had to make a bit of an adjustment to get the clip to slot in. I've just had to sort of bend the tab a little bit, but not a lot. It was only a little bit of persuasion, and he went through. And then you can see I'm refitting that clip again. I'm naughty here. I do use a pair of water pump pliers as a hammer rather than an actual hammer. You'll see it, just like that. But you know, that works fine. So yeah, obviously if you had your ABS one now, you could bolt that in and put that across. Now I'm just showing you the adjustment here briefly, the height there. Yeah, we've sort of discussed that already really, but that's what it looks like underneath. So back up to the top. Now this is what I was talking about. So I'm going to, what I did, crack off all 4 of these camber adjustable bolts, and then what I'll do is I'll slide it right out so it's at the minimum. I basically want as little camber as possible because the arms are already given a lot of camber, but you might want to keep it somewhere like that if you're only putting it on a standard car. So there we go, look, I'll put it to the least setting. You get the idea, basically adjust it to wherever you want. But that's very similar on all coilovers of this style, to be honest. Seems to work well, so that's why they do it, I think. Right, jack up the bit back. Same thing again really, so get your axe stand under there, with the wheel off. Got the accelerator tyres on there still, look. If anyone wants to try any of them, give me a shout. A few cobwebs on the old caliper. Now most people won't have this. I've got a dual caliper set up on the back, so my rear hose for the extra caliper is cable tied round. But you then need to undo that nut at the bolt at the bottom. It's a 17. Just gun that one off. There we go, look. And then we'll head inside the car. So how many times is it going to take me to rock that camera? I should have edited that out a bit better really, shouldn't I, before I did it. But anyways, undo that one there. Luckily, if you've still got a standard car, you'll still have a parcel shelf in there. But back outside, got the pry bar out, pried them off. Now I do have a bit of a dirt shield here to cover all the fuel pipes and stuff, so I just had to cut that off beforehand. But yeah, then you can get the coilover out like that. And here's another demonstration again. So if you look at the thickness here at the top, it's funny actually, because actually on the rears the MaXpeedingRods coilovers have actually got a thicker top mount. But one of the noticeable things here, look, the damper rod is very similar thickness. If anything, I think it's thicker, but look at the length of the springlet. So they're both supposed to be the same weight springs. The ones on the MaXpeedingRods are good, look at that, probably inch or so longer. So obviously that's going to give you more, you know, the spring is stronger, but it's going to give you sort of more grip, because realistically you should have more travel on the spring, basically. So it should allow more movement, but whether the shock will bottom out before, I don't think it will, because obviously when the spring gets tighter, but I'd imagine that's going to be pretty grippy with that setup. But yeah, otherwise, as you can see, it's a bush fitting in the bottom there, rather than the pillow ball mount style. Very similar though. Oh yeah, I've gone back in, nipped it back up. You see the red caps on the top of the coilover for the adjustment. It's just like a little node, just a small node, not the knob. I should have actually shown that. I don't think I do. Oh yeah, and this is it. I sort of skipped forward. I forgot to do the bit in between. Basically, it's a reverse of what I just did at the beginning. So that's the clearance between the nut and the back as well. That's always good. You want to double check the coilover's got clearance there to the toe arm. That's me again. Another thumbs up. I'm happy that I've done that. Yeah, basically that's me fitting the coilovers to one side of my S14. But to be fair, yeah, overall I think they look decent. Obviously, until I try them, I don't want to give a full review until I've tried them out and about. But they do look decent. Like I said, I set them to pretty much the same height as what my other coilovers were set at. Obviously on the front, like I said, there was a little bit of the actual shock thread that wasn't coming out the bottoms, but the body is still about that thick. You must still have about, I don't know, 3 inches of the thread in the body, so I can't see it doing any damage. But otherwise, yeah, was a doddle to fit. So looking forward to trying them. I've got a drift day booked with a friend of mine. We're car sharing his BMW, and then I'll be drifting my car hopefully at the same place, which is just a local drift day down here at Zoyland, and yeah, should be good stuff. So I'll keep you posted, and yeah, keep you updated as much as I can.